And I actually just finished reading your book, your new book, from Hollywood to the Himalayas, and beyond words, and deeply, deeply touched and transformed. And I really hope that as people read it, they see your journey and they begin to reflect on the possibility and the potential that we all have to receive that grace in our lives. And so I actually wanted to begin our first question, and we wanted to keep this like a conversation and hear from you. And I was just saying this idea of samvad, so we get to see your reflections and your insights as we move through these questions. And so the first question really is, you speak about your journey, and I would recommend everybody to get the book and read the book. But Sadhviji's journey is really one from illness to wellness. And I'd love for you, because I know you've done a lot of work around wellness, around happiness, around health, and your journey from the West to the Himalayas, from Hollywood to the Himalayas, and your perspective on what that means and why this land, this culture, the Himalayas, India, Ganga, is so potent with this science of wellness. Mm-hmm. But also, Sadhviji, I mean, the other day I was looking at people coming to the banks of Ganga here in Rishikesh and reflecting on your book and thinking, well, so there's so many countless people who come to the banks of Ganga, but not everybody has your journey and your transformation. And so what is it that we need to also keep in mind to be receptive to that potential of transformation and wellness and health in our lives?
Beautiful. Wow. So, well, first of all, I'm so glad that you read the book in spite of having so much seva on an overflowing plate. That's wonderful. And yeah, I think it can be best summed up actually by a quote that I share in the book by Pujya Swamiji from the very beginning, because as many of you know, I trained as a psychologist. I have a PhD in psychology, and I was very deeply entrenched in the world of psychology, both the receiving end and the giving end of it. And I was very, very deeply immersed in and enmeshed with my own story and my own drama. And Pujya Swamiji says to me one day, I was talking to him about the pain. It was before that moment of giving it. And I was talking about it. And he said, you people in the West, he said, you sit around in a dark room and you talk about how many molecules of darkness there are and what it feels like to be in the dark room and how long it's been dark and why it might be dark and all of that. You go around and everybody shares about the darkness. And he says, and in the East, we go like this on the wall looking for a light switch. And it was such a profound statement. And I think it really is the best answer to your question in terms of that power. Because in the West, we're really not just taught, but encouraged to be wrapped up in our own stories. And whether it's in our one-on-one, psychology therapy sessions where you just kind of talk and talk and talk and talk, and then the hour's over, but you're really just constantly being sort of encouraged to go into your own story, or whether it's in our conversations with others. I remember growing up, just being with friends, you'd get together and it always was something to begin with, oh my God, this happened today, and oh my God, this, and oh my God, that. And I can't believe I'm suffering so much in this way and that way. There's a lot of attachment to drama and a lot of enjoyment of drama. And it's very, very difficult to let go of pain when you live in a society that fosters it and that keeps reminding you, you are your story, you are your history, you are your identity, that keeps labeling us also. Whatever particular illness or ailment we may be moving through at that moment, or even not necessarily an illness or ailment, just a moment in our lives of a particular pattern of electrical and chemical behavior in our brain that we may call depression or anxiety. But we're so identified by that here in the West. It's all about, you are this, I am this. And it becomes very, very difficult then to be free, because it's not just a passing mental state. It's not just a wave of emotion. It is who I am. And so letting go of an emotion, letting go of a grudge, letting go of a story is in many ways denying yourself. And so I think that's where in the West we see so much of people just wrapped up to the point of absolute suffocation, not just claustrophobia, but suffocation in their own stories and in their own dramas. And we just can't break free. Whereas in the East, and of course, this is exemplified so beautifully in spiritual India, which the Himalayas and the banks of Ganga really are the epitome of, which is, you are not your story. You are not your history. You are not the pattern of chemical and electrical activity in your brain at the moment. You are divine. You are whole. You are pure. You are infinite consciousness. And so this stuckness with a story is something that you don't get nearly as much support for in the East. And, you know, in the book, I share the story of Pujya Swamiji literally saying to me, so are you going to take this to the grave with you? And I won't go into the whole story here, but it really is a very profound and also very fundamental way of the spiritual East, of every moment is a new moment. And so why would you at 25 years old, which I was at the time, why would I at 25 be carrying with me pain from years earlier? In the West, we say, well, of course, right? I mean, you got to go to therapy and we have to process it and we have to do this and work through it all. And in the East, the question is very, very simple. Why are you carrying this? Who are you? And I remember a couple of years later, him saying to me in a different circumstance, he looked at me and he said, when are you going to stop talking about that? Like, I had just made a passing reference to this challenge and trauma from my childhood. And he just, when are you going to stop talking about this? And it's hard now to share how deeply compassionate that was. It may seem like it wasn't, but it actually was. It was so deeply compassionate because he was present, not with my story, not with my drama, not with the gold bars of my cage, but with the truth of who I was, which was done with the story. And so the only possible answer to that question was now. Like, now I'm going to stop talking about this because I am no longer identified. And I did. That was almost 25 years ago. And I didn't talk about it again until it came to writing the book, when I realized, oh, well, it's actually necessary, because otherwise people think that I just sort of descended upon Rishikesh from the heavens, as, you know, sort of this perfect, angelic, untouched, you know, Stanford graduate. And that's not, it's not healthy for people, because it keeps them separate. Then it's, I'm cut from a different cloth, they're cut from a different cloth. What I was able to experience is something they're not able to experience. And that is neither true nor healthy nor productive on any way. So I realized it's very important to talk about it so that people realize I'm not cut from a different cloth. I know challenge, I know struggle, I know trauma, and I know freedom. And you can know freedom as well. So that's the illness to wellness that, you know, and of course there's so much else that we'll come to at different times. Lastly, though, your question about people who aren't transformed. Well, there's an expression that says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. And, you know, it's like that beautiful teaching that's one of Pujya Swamiji's core teachings of the sun is there, the light is there. But if we're going to sit inside with our windows closed, our curtains drawn, we're not going to experience that light. But it's not that the light isn't there. It's just that our curtains are closed. And so the work then becomes not about bringing God or bringing grace or bringing the sun, bringing the light, but about opening the curtains. In this case, it's opening our heart. And it's simple. It's not easy. I know that in the book, I did not make it seem easy. It's not easy, but it is simple. And it is something that we can all do. It isn't complex at all. What's difficult about it is that when our heart opens, we have to let go of that which we're holding on to in our heart. It's like if I've got a stone in my hand, well, I can hold on to that stone as long as my fist is closed. But if you make me open my hand, well, the stone is going to come out. And so when we speak about opening our hearts, we have to be prepared that the rock we are holding on to, that we have stuck literally in our own hearts, when we open the heart, like when you open the hand, in that spaciousness, the stone comes out. And so we have to be prepared for that and courageous for that. And all I can say lastly about that is it's so much better on the other side. It's so much better on the other side. And whatever you think you're holding on to, that you think is you, it's so much better on the other side of an open heart.